I run no BS policy, like literally.
Welcome to the 5 Questions podcast, where we unlock real estate and business insights one question at a time.
Hi there, this is Wise here from Save Max Superstars Realty, the wise guy of real estate. If you are a buyer on the fence, waiting to buy, this is the time to buy. What are you waiting for? So why should you buy? Here are a couple of reasons. We've got skyrocketing inventory, we have low interest rates, and we've got sellers desperate to sell. And in this market, you can definitely get a good deal. So if you're looking to buy in Ontario or Dubai, I'm your guy, the wise guy of real estate. Call me at 416-876-9960. Get your deal done.
Welcome to the 5 Questions podcast. I am your host, Mario Lamar, and our guest on today's show is a powerhouse businesswoman, EQ coach, and devoted mom who turned her immigrant journey into an inspiring story of leadership and impact. From corporate boardrooms to property management success in Edmonton, she leads with heart, strategy, and unstoppable resilience. Welcome, Tania Andrusko. Welcome, Tania.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
The concept of the podcast, I ask 5 questions about business or real estate, and we get straight to the point. Okay?
Got it. You
All
got
right.
it.
First question I have for you. You emigrated from Ukraine 13 years ago. Was that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. What was the hardest part of rebuilding your life in Canada, and what helped you push through this?
Okay. Well, honestly, the hardest part was not figure out the bus schedule in -30. Although it was really hard, it was not the hardest. I think the hardest part was to rebuild the life. Rebuild life from scratch, with no network, with no safety net. We literally had to prove, everything on paper. And looking back at this moment, I feel like, even 13 years is so much easier right now. Back then it was pretty harsh. And I feel like we had a vision. We immigrated with 2 kids and my husband. And I remember it was April and I was like, oh, I'm going to put a dress on. And I came to Edmonton and it was still like really yucky and cold and dark and gray and snow. And I was like, oh, okay, that's going to be different, right? But we had a vision, we had a dream. And but honestly, there were lots of disappointment and rage at the same time, and that actually had to push us through, because we had to, I needed to start cleaning, shoveling snow. I would pick up any job. And knowing that I have a master's degree in business and commerce, I have my education, I have my experience, and here in a new country you have to build it from scratch. It gives you that kind of like
the fuel,
energy, the fuel, the fire, and you go. And obviously lots of coffee, Ukrainian grit, some humor, all that combined.
Well, it seems that you're, like you said, you had your education, your life in Ukraine, and you wanted to achieve the same life or same better lifestyle that in Canada. And it was not possible right off the bat. So that anger or that frustration, you used it in a better way to push you up and not to stop, achieving towards your goals.
You're completely right. You're completely right. Because when we have that energy, then it becomes a choice how we use it, right?
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so let's go to our second question. And Reliable Pro is a property management company, has earned a strong reputation in Edmonton in the property management space. What values have been non-negotiable in building a company that people truly trust?
Well, you just said it. Our top 2 values is trust and transparency. Again, I run no BS policy, like literally. And what I know to be true is that consciousness comes from the top. So if I feel like lots of my personal values are transferred to my company values. So trust, transparency, Commitment. If I tell you I will call you, I will call you.
Yeah.
If I say I will evict you if you don't pay, I will, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, that's it. So if you follow through, then people have this understanding that, oh, okay, there is no sugarcoating, there is no like questions. It's just that's what we do. And also I'm super proud of my team. I always put my team first because I feel like how I care about my team and how I invest in my team, that's will be reflected to my business and my brand and my name.
Yeah.
I do handpick them. I stand by them. I fight for them if needed. I'm always super protective, and also I'm super selective. When we hire, we always look at some specific competencies and experience and skill. But one of the most important is the positivity. Are you a team player? Are you gonna fit? We check social media. So the whole thing together, because let's be honest, property management is not just about managing properties. We work with people, we work with tenants, we work with investors, the owners. So the team spirit and the probably heart behind the person and the expert is what's really important for us.
Well, and that's why you are where you are in Edmonton in the property management space, because those values are like diamonds. It's if you have transparency, if people trust you, you'll get the business, and that's why you do. Thank you for sharing this. Our third question, and I'm going to ask you for an example now. Can you share a real example where emotional intelligence made all the difference in handling a tough situation? Because you talk about this. We talked about in a personal conversation about emotional intelligence. Whether with tenants, staff, or partners, do you have a story where you had to use this?
Oh, I have so many stories. So I figured when I was still in corporate, I figured that people fight in a boardroom, or we cannot close the deal, or we cannot make a consensus, not because there is lack of expertise, because people are people, and sometimes we just don't understand each other.
Yeah.
Simply because we cannot manage our emotions. So, I got certified probably 7 years ago in Calgary. I think I brought it immediately back in each aspect. The real story, real story. We had a tenant who he was so frustrated, he was yelling because the toilet was blocked. What I knew is that he also lost his job recently. I had to be involved. I went on site, and I'm very hands-on owner. If there is something that is happening like this, I have zero problem to go in on the ground.
Yeah.
And I remember I came in and he's yelling. He's red, and without emotional intelligence, I feel like, the fire meets the fire, right? And you start this huge deal. I just listen and I say, hey, how about we fix the toilet first? Because, oh yeah, he was frustrated because it wasn't just a blocked toilet. His kid dropped the orange inside. So it's a chargeback to tenant. So he's super frustrated. Now he doesn't have a job. He has to pay the bill. So I said, hey, you know what? Let's fix the toilet first and let's talk about the rest later. And we just dealt with that. And later on, he's like, Tania, I'm sorry. And we just figure it out. We put him on a payment plan. He initially find the job. But I feel like it's really important to not to think about numbers of bills or issues. We work with humans. Yeah. And that's where emotional intelligence comes in really, really helpful,
This is the same concept that we teach in business, as you deal with humans. If you take the time to understand the person in front of you, whether it's to sell them something, whether it's to deal, in your case, in the property management space, take the time to understand what the real problem is, you can solve everybody's problem.
100%, Mario, 100%. And then I had this one owner, I remember, because with tenants, it's one thing. I had this investor owner, he was so frustrated, his unit would not be leased. And he just wrote such a nasty email about my team. And when it comes to my team, I'm very much like,
yeah,
okay. So, and I could get defensive or, try to explain. Instead, using emotional intelligence, I got curious. I'm like, okay, as you said, like take time to see what's behind this, right? Yeah. And we had a nice conversation. I looked into the thing. Unit got leased eventually anyway. But I remember he got back to me later in the months and he's like, Tania, how did he say it? He said something like, you don't just manage my property, you actually managed me and that week. I'm like, okay. Okay, right? So it's that people connection, right? And then you build trust, and then you build trust.
Yeah. And for sure, once you go through this with someone, you tend to stay, you appreciate that relationship, and you tend to stay in business longer together, because now they know that you truly care. You take the time to understand their frustrations, their problems, and you solve the solution.
Yeah.
Question number 4 for you.
Okay.
What's a myth or misunderstanding people have about property managers, and how does your approach kind of flip the script?
The myth about property management. I feel like people think that property manager is this like glorified person who collects the rent, never turns the calls, and probably doesn't take care of the property. But that's not the truth. That's not the truth. I feel like the good property manager, it's like I don't know, we are financial strategists, we are tenant therapists, we are, I don't know, dog whisperers at the time, right? There's so many components to it. And I think that's what puts Reliable Pro on a different scale across Edmonton. It's a different approach. Like we don't treat everything like just numbers or reports or monthly meetings. It's a completely different aspect of it. Yeah, and I feel like if you do want to be a good property manager, you have to understand it's not about managing property only. There's investors. For somebody, it's one property that they build legacy for the kids, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a completely different approach versus for someone who is, for example, in Ontario, having 96-unit multifamily building here, and it's one of the many, many investments, right?
Yeah.
So it's that really fine line of understanding what's important and what the value is.
And again, it comes to how your approach is taking the time to understand your client. So
yeah,
it seems to be something that's repeating with you, but it's a good thing, because it brought you to the top.
Yeah, but it's very important, right?
Yeah,
People
absolutely.
want to have heart-to-heart conversation. They don't want just to have numbers. And again, life is life, and this is business. We will have ups and downs. So if we only stay together when everything is good and and funny, well, I don't think it's like that. It's different, because we can only test ourselves on those emergency calls, on those like freak out moments, on those moments, and then if we work through them, then we build long-term sustainable relationships for sure.
So this 5th question is personal to you, okay?
Okay.
But I want to ask you, because you move countries, you restarted a life for you, and you reach a very successful business, right? What legacy are you hoping to leave or working on to leave, not just for your business or through your business, but through the life you're modeling for your kids and community?
That's a very deep question. The legacy. My motto for life is that dreams come true. The legacy that I would like to build, I have 2 daughters, 2 teenage daughters. So, 1 week I was called the worst mom in the world. So, it really depends. I'm building the legacy, but sometimes I couldn't fail it. I want my daughters to know that you can be both. You can be strong and kind. You can be powerful and soulful. I want them to know that you don't have to choose one or the other. And as we just spoke, it's not just life is life, business is business. I want them to know that everywhere it's a duality, and it's how you show up.
Yeah.
That's what's going to define you. I was called the skinny bitch boss. and the best boss ever. Honestly, those words, they don't define me. It just talks about the experience that the other people have. So what I learn my kids, and I'm hoping I'm the example, is that stay true to yourself, be kind, and what other people think of you, it's a reflection of them, not of you. You keep your vision, and I'm saying that dreams come true not because it's magical or because they come true, because we build them. And I feel like my legacy and what has been built so far is it's a proof to that. It's a proof to that. One day it was a vision, in -30 in Edmonton, and today we have this beautiful podcast. That thank you so much for inviting me. And this is just the proof that yes, they do come true.
Absolutely. And you're a true inspiration for not only other women out there that are trying to build something for themselves, but for everybody. You have lots of knowledge. You shared a lot of value today with us. I hope our audience, our listeners, take a piece of your wisdom on their journey, because you showed us how you can really elevate not only your status, but your life in general through listening to others first.
Thank you,
Tania,
Maria. Thank
you so much for being part of the 5 Question podcast, and it was a pleasure to talk with you today.
Thanks so much, Maria. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to the 5 Questions podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell on our YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Stay tuned for more insights and tips to transform your real estate and business game. See you next time.